Guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. My name's Amanda, and today I want to share with you some hyped books that I have read, or really popular books that I have read and I have not liked. All right, so I know we all know that there are these books sometimes that just come around that everybody seems to be raving about, both on BookTube and on Bookstagram and on Goodreads and just in life in general sometimes. And so I thought that I would share with you some books that I feel have been really, really hyped to me and that I ended up reading and not liking, like hardly at all. Out of all of these, three of them are 2-star reads, and two of them were 3-star reads, but they were really, really low 3-star reads. And especially considering the amount of hype that they got, I was really expecting a lot more from them, and they just didn't deliver. So the first book that I want to talk about, and quite possibly the most hyped book out there, probably within the last 2 years, is Educated by Tara Westover. Now, I have talked fairly extensively on my channel in various videos about my dislike for this book. This is one of those books that I just don't understand how it got so hyped. I mean, you have Bill Gates and Michelle Obama and all of these like huge people saying that this was the best book they've ever read. Really? I can name so many more books that were way better than this. So I went into this with fairly high expectations, and I'll give you that. Like, maybe my expectations just weren't met. But overall, the whole tone of this book was so negative, and it really seemed like the author, Tara Westover, had a bone to pick with her parents, and she was very spiteful. And it has come out that through her family, that a lot of the stories that she told really didn't go down the way that she remembered them. And this is her memoir, it's her memories of her life. But I think a lot of it was kind of extrapolated and emphasized in different areas to make things seem worse than they were. Now, this book was pitched as, you know, this girl who lived with these survivalist parents and got escaped and ended up becoming this like Harvard graduate. I don't think she actually went to Harvard. I think she went to Oxford, somewhere in England maybe. And she became, you know, this huge educational, you know, person. And that's not really what the story was about. I mean, it was, but one, her parents were not survivalists. They were anti-government, but they were not survivalists. They did not believe in hospitals, but they believed in, you know, ulterior forms of medication, namely, you know, like essential oils, that sort of thing. So they did get in multiple car accidents and nobody was taken to the hospital. That, you know, yes. However, they had telephones, they had electricity, they had food to eat. Her father ran a salvage yard. They were homeschooled, and so she really didn't get much of an education until she applied for college. And she did overcome a lot, and I will give her that. This book has also a lot to do with abuse, and that was horrific to read about. I will not negate anything that she says on that front. However, I was really looking forward to learning how she went from not having any formal schooling to then, you know, getting into the education system and becoming very affluent and, you know, really excelling it, you know, on the educational level. And really, this book kind of went from all these horrible things happened to me, and then I got into college, and then wham bam, thank you ma'am, I'm a genius. And there was no explanation of how that really came about, and I was kind of missing that within the story. So just the overall tone of this, I didn't like. I ended up giving this book 2 stars. It was just not good in my opinion. And I can name, you know, offhand a couple of other ones that were done, you know, that were about similar things that were done better, namely The Glass Castle by what's her name? I can't think of it now. Jeanette Walls. You know, that was done so much better in my opinion than this one was. I do not understand the hype for this book. Period. The end. All right, moving on. Next, I have a graphic novel, and this is The Tea Dragon Society by, who is this by? Katie O'Neill, I think. You know, obviously there's a picture up already, but anyway, this book, it's a graphic novel. It's very short. It's middle grade probably, and So many people rave about how fantastic this book is, and I don't get it. There was no story, there was no plot at all. The illustrations, I will give you that. The illustrations are gorgeous. These little dragons are so darling, and I love, love, love the illustrations. There was no story. None. I don't understand it. That one got 2 stars for me as well. Not a fan, actually. Did that one get 2 stars? That one might have gotten 3 stars. I think I ended up giving that one 3 stars, but honestly, I'm probably going to go back and dock it down to 2 stars because I just don't understand. Like, the hype around this, there's no plot. Even for a really, really short graphic novel, you can have a plot. Nothing. And there's no character development. Like, I know sometimes, it's not a plot-driven story, it's a character-driven story, and there was no character development in the story. It's like, here's these characters, these couple of things happen, none of it really correlates, and we're done with some really, really cute dragons. So, I don't know. That one I didn't understand, I didn't like, and I feel like it's way overhyped for what it is. All right, the next one, the other 3 I actually have here. So we'll start with my library book so I can return it to the library. And this was a recent read for me, and that is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This is kind of the book that inspired this video because I feel like this was so hyped last year, the year before, I don't even remember now. It was like the Jimmy Fallon summer book read. So many people were talking about this, adults, young adults, whatever. I know this is young adult. I know this is fantasy. Neither of those 2 aspects of books are typically things that draw me to books. I don't read a lot of young adult. I don't read a lot of fantasy. However, because this was so well loved by so many people, I was really hoping that I was going to love it, and I just didn't. This was so YA trope heavy. I couldn't see past it. There was, insta love. There was just the good guy versus bad guy, good girl, bad boy, fall in love sort of thing. None of it made any sense. And so, I don't know. The battle scenes were really good. I will say that. I did have one character that I really did enjoy, but I didn't like I said, there was the first 3/4 of this book was so slow, and there was so much details about things that really didn't matter in the story, and it was not for me. I didn't really enjoy it. I also really, really did not like the fact that at the end, the author, and I talked about this in my wrap up when my April, I think, wrap up when I talked about this book, but I did not like the fact that the author in the author's note basically says, I wrote this for a political reason, and this is what you should get out of my book. That just really, really rubbed me the wrong way. I don't mind when authors write about political things. However, for you as an author to tell me what I should be getting out of your book ruins the point of me reading the book, in my perspective. That for me is I should read the book and take out of it what I take out of it, and your writing should be strong enough that you don't have to tell me what your point was. I should just get it. And so, I don't know. I just not a fan. So that one, I did give that one 3 stars because I did appreciate the battle scenes and kind of the way things kind of work together. I did enjoy certain aspects of the book, but overall it was a major, major letdown for me, and I have no intention of carrying on with the series, and it kind of put me off from picking up YA fantasy moving forward. So, I don't know. All right, another one that I read in March that I feel was really hyped, and I just didn't like it, is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is a Newbery Award winner. This is majorly hyped amongst the middle grade crowd. Not necessarily middle grade readers, but adults who read middle grade love this book. I'm not one of them. I just didn't get it. I honestly think that I was just dumb enough that I didn't understand a lot of this book. It went off in so many different directions. Once again, there were characters that were in the book, and I have no idea what purpose they served. I did not like the way that certain aspects of life were portrayed in this book. Mainly adoption. I didn't like the way that the adoption topic was handled in this, and I know Kelly, a cozy reader, Kelly mentioned it, and I think that may have been what like perked my antenna up to it before I even read the book, because I know she has said before she didn't like that. And so I really keyed in on when I was reading it on how adoption was being portrayed. And by the end, I was like, yep, I'm with you. I did not like the way that they handled it. So many people love this though, and I was really hoping that I was gonna love it too, and I just didn't. Honestly, I tried reading this last year for middle grade March. I tried the audiobook and I DNF'd it about 30% of the way in, and I almost DNF'd it again this year, but I didn't. I kept going, and the audiobook was good. Like, the narrator was good. I just didn't like the story. It was way too convoluted for me and not my thing. All right, and then the last book that I have on this list is a Christian fiction book that is massively hyped, and that is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. Amongst Christian fiction readers, or even just readers in general, I've heard so many people, non-readers, like people who don't read a lot, have said that this is their favorite book of all time. And I know so many people who just absolutely love this book, and I don't understand why, especially as a Christian. So this book is about, it's basically a retelling of the story of Hosea from the Bible. And in the Bible, Hosea is told by God to marry a prostitute. He is told, marry this prostitute, and she keeps running away and running back to prostitution, and he keeps going and getting her, and, seeking her out, and always has an open door for her, and taking her back and forgiving her and all of that. That's the story of Hosea. This book is set during the gold rush in California, out west, and it's about a prostitute and a guy named Hosea who basically is told by God to marry this prostitute, and he is borderline creepy about the way that he seeks her out. Like, he just goes to her all the time and is like, I'm gonna marry you. I'm gonna marry you. I'm gonna marry you. And then she gets herself in a pinch, and he basically marries her while she's unconscious, and then takes her to live with him on his farm and won't let her leave. And people think that this is the best book they've ever read. And I'm like, wait, what? This guy was totally creeped me out, rubbed me the wrong way. I loved reading the woman's perspective in this, and I could not stand the man. So this is supposed to be getting turned into a movie, and I'm real interested to see how that plays out, because I cannot see that whole storyline going over well these days. I don't know if this was just a product of his time, and because I read it now rather than when it was published in, let's see, when was it published? Oh my goodness, I am blind. Oh wait, nope, that's not it. 1997? Apparently it was okay to force marry people and kidnap them. But in 2020, I found major flaws with this, and I do not understand why people love it so much. So those are 5 books that I feel are hyped that I did not like at all. Some of them, like Children of Blood and Bone, had some pros and cons. But overall, I just really didn't care for it that much. The other ones, I don't give 1-star ratings, but some of these I might consider. Like, they're low 2 stars. So anyway, if you have read these, if you have similar feelings, let me know that I'm not alone. But if some of these are your favorites, props to you. I'm glad that you loved them. They just weren't for me. To each their own, right? So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya.